What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Human Betterment Project. Today, we're going to be talking about habits, more specifically, uh, steps to create good habits and steps to end bad habits. So, everybody wants to start like good habits, like exercising every day or eating healthy, or even the more mundane, like getting up at a decent time, stuff like that. And everybody's always talking about ending bad habits. I want to stop smoking, stop drinking, stop eating bad food. These negative habits that people have. And usually, the only time that people really try and delve into these difficult things is usually New Year's Eve when you have those New Year's resolutions. So you kind of have a little bit of a push, like a societal push to try these, but usually they peter out, and it's because habits are really hard to form and harder to break. So I just want to go over some steps I found for creating good habits and for eliminating bad habits. So step one for creating good habits is start with a small and specific action. A lot of times people go for the big goals, the big prizes, like, I want to lose 100 pounds, or even more broad. They're like, I want to lose, or I want to get in shape. Well, what does that mean? What does getting in shape mean? That's way too vague, way too broad of a goal. What you want to do, experts say, is have a very small, specific, and trackable goal. So this could be something as small as like for getting in shape. It's you don't even want to say I want to start walking regularly, because what is walking regularly? That's still too big. So it could be something like I'm going to walk 5 minutes every Monday. So now you have an achievable goal, like something small and measurable that is not too difficult, and then you could build on it from there to increase that good habit. So you just start out with that small, trackable, and achievable goal. So it could be something as simple as, you know, um, a 30-second window. It's like, after I brush my teeth, uh, you know, I'm gonna floss my teeth. You know what I mean? Like something really small like that. Something easy, manageable, and can become automatic. Um, Number two is pick a trigger or anchor for this new habit, this new practice. So this could be basically you're trying to trick your brain into associating a good habit with a common action. So let's say that your new habit is that you want to take your vitamins on a regular basis, like every day, every morning. You want to take your vitamins. Well, what you could do to associate it with something and make it more automatic is put the vitamins right next to your coffee maker. And your new action is every time you go to turn on the coffee maker in the morning, you take your vitamins. So now you've associated it with this action of starting the coffee maker. So eventually your brain just goes, okay, I'm up. I turned on the coffee maker. My next step is taking these vitamins that are right next to it. So it's a physical trigger, basically, that can help you continue to do that habit. Um, Three, find the pleasure in it. So a lot of the research shows that you're more likely to stick to a habit if you enjoy it. So when we're talking about the getting in shape thing, you might hate running with a passion. You don't like it, and I mean, I did another video before this about how maybe you should be you could create mental toughness to even do these things that you dislike, and you should do things you dislike. But let's just, for the sake of building habit, let's talk about finding the pleasure in those things. So let's say you don't like running, you don't like going to the gym, or like a traditional gym or something. Try to commit to something physical that you do enjoy. Maybe it's going for hikes. Maybe you like being outside, put on a backpack and go hike in the trails. Maybe it's a dance class. Maybe you love being in some sort of martial arts class. You really enjoy it, something like jujitsu or something like that. Or it could be something as simple as gardening. Maybe you really enjoy gardening, so you're out there with all those tools and stuff, and that's your physical activity, and that's your new habit to get physical activity. But now that you associate it with something you enjoy, you're much more likely to do those activities. and stay with that habit. Um, another Number four is try temptation bundling. So another way to make a new habit fun is to pair it with an activity that you enjoy. So let's say that you enjoy. Let me think here for a second. Let's say that you enjoy audiobooks, like you like to listen to audiobooks. Well, why don't you listen to that thing that you enjoy while you're doing your new habit, like going to the gym? You're much more likely to work out and get that other habit done when you're listening to the audiobook. So, especially if it's something engaging, you can kind of detach from this gym activity that you don't like, or maybe that maybe you don't like it now. You might in the future, but maybe you're like, okay, I got to get on this treadmill, but at least I have my audiobook, my good book that I'm listening to and stuff, and that could really help you reinforce that new habit. And then eventually it'll just, those two will come in pairs, and you'll have two good habits that uh, that you do at that point. Um, Another one is slide a good habit into a space occupied by a bad one. So let's say that you have ice cream every night, and that's a bad habit for you. Um, but so what you would do is, let's say that you always have ice cream when you're watching Jeopardy or something that's a nightly occurrence. You um, so what you would do instead is swap out that ice cream for something that is a good habit, or maybe a more healthy food. Maybe you swap it out for some like high protein like health pudding, or like some sort of keto snack, or whatever you're into, whatever is like the opposite or the antithesis of the ice cream. That way that becomes your habit, and that your trigger was always, well, when we're watching Jeopardy I always have ice cream. Well, now that the trigger is the same, but the outcome is different. Now it's you're replacing it with that good habit. So that's a way to kind of like trick your brain into, to replacing bad habits with good habits. Um, Number six is redesign your environment. So another way to do to you know fix your habits, or create new good ones is, let's say that you have a habit of snacking or something like that, and the cookie jar is always there, and you know that if you're going to get into that cookie uh, cookie jar, that you're going to have this snack. Well, instead you can like get rid of the cookie jar and put like a plastic container full of almonds or something like that, um, and something healthy, and that way you only have healthy options left. You only have good habit options left. So it's the redesigning of your environment and the things in them, so that you're not tempted by bad things. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. You'll be tempted by good things, because those are the only things left there. So, or like, you want to squeeze in a little extra fitness or something. So you bring a little kettlebell to work or something, and it's right at your desk, and now there's just this kettlebell staring at you at your office. And you're like, well, no, I guess I could do a couple swings or a couple squats real quick or something like that. Like, that thing being there is now a potential push to seek out a better habit. Um, or if you watch too much TV, you take out the batteries out of the remote and hide them somewhere so you can't turn on the TV. Stuff like, just like little things like that, where you're redesigning your environment so that you don't have the same temptation to navigate, or yeah, like navigate towards bad things, or bad habits, and instead you'll kind of go towards the good habits instead. um, Seven, celebrate your wins. New habits tend to form more quickly if you feel like you're good, if you've been good about them. So um, you can find a way to give yourself some positive reinforcement whenever you are achieving these goals. So let's say that, like, you give yourself a little bit of a mental, like, celebration, or even a physical celebration of some kind, if you were successfully able to keep the habit of going on that walk every day for a month or something like that. That's huge for you. So now you can celebrate that and help the brain reinforce that by, oh, I'm going to be rewarded like emotionally for this. Um, once I complete this journey. Um, but don't celebrate with another bad habit, because then you could just cause another bad habit. So um, now I want to talk about bad habits and how to remove bad habits. So I just gave you the, what was it, uh, 7 steps to create good habits. So now we're going to go through some pointers on how to create or how to eliminate bad habits. Um, so there's 3 things that create a habit. There's a reminder or trigger, cue, whatever you want to call it, that creates it. It's usually something emotional or physical. I mean, it could be, the sound, a sound, or a particular action, or a particular emotional feeling like anxiety or nervousness, but something that's a cue, or a reminder. It could be something routine, or it is a routine. So there's a behavior associated with the trigger that happened, and that is the habit basically. And then there's like a reward aspect to it too. So especially if it's something like a food related thing, where you're gonna your bad habit is eating something, or some sort of feeling uh, uh, of the same kind. There's like a dopamine release basically, that rewards your brain for that habit, whether it's good or bad. So we need to eliminate those bad habits, even though they give this dopamine reward to your brain. Um, so there's like 15 tips to help you break old habits. One, identify your triggers. So you need to figure out what your triggers are, um, that 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 are causing these issues, or causing these habits. What time of day does it happen? Where does it happen? How do you feel? Are there other people involved? So that way you can, if you know the trigger, maybe you can avoid it. Is the idea. Um, Number 2, focus on why you want to change. If you have a goal, if your reason for getting rid of this bad habit is something really health related or emotional related or something, let's say that it's smoking. That's cutting years off of your life, and you really want to stop doing it. That's your why. So you just need a why to help push your motivation to keep doing it, because it's going to be hard. um, 3, enlist a friend's support. Sometimes you might need like a little bit of accountability, or something like that, and that, or you want to be doing it with somebody else. Like, this happens a lot with people that are like, especially trying to eat better. A lot of people will do it together, to like, that way they can kind of, I don't want to say suffer together, but they can commiserate and be like, yeah, it's hard, but I'm doing really well. And it's like, oh, well, I can help you out, or I have some tips, or whatever. So having support is a big factor in helping with breaking up breaking a bad habit. Um, Practice mindfulness. So mindfulness can help you develop the awareness of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And I think that this can help you to identify the cues or the triggers that you have for your bad habits, and or what even are those bad habits. And you can kind of recognize the effects those habits are having. So just being mindfully aware of what are your habits, and what are those triggers. Um, Replace the habit with a different one. So we talked about this, and with the good habits, sliding in a good habit for a bad habit. So these are kind of overlapping here a little bit, but instead of eating that ice cream every night at Jeopardy, instead have a protein shake, or have some like keto snack, or whatever your new diet is, or whatever your eating regimen is, something like that. So the cue or the trigger is still the same, but the reward is different, but it's a good reward. Or I'm sorry, it's a good routine, but you still get that dopamine reward for acting out on the habit. Um, so yeah. Um, Leave yourself reminders. So, you could use like sticky notes or other visual reminders, um, especially in places where the habit happens, so that you can be reminded of yourself, remind yourself you don't want to do that habit. So, let's say your habit is you drink soda with every meal. You could leave a bunch of stickers in your refrigerator or on your refrigerator that's like, remember, don't drink, soda or something like that, and that way there's a visual representation or visual cue telling you don't engage in this bad habit. You could also it's also recommended sometimes, you could use your smartphone to set reminders, like, you know let's say you watch too much TV, so you're trying to limit yourself and you want to stop watching at like 6 p.m. or whatever. You can set an alarm on your phone that says turn off the TV at 6, and it'll go off like time for no more TV. Or you set your alarm for after dinner walks, like 30 minutes after dinner, it's like goes off and it says time to go for a walk. Um, so prepare for slip ups. Um, you're not going to be perfect right away. You're gonna like fall back into your old patterns. Excuse me. Particularly when it hasn't been solidified early on, especially you're gonna fall back into your old habits. But as they get more solidified or replaced with good habits, those will get less and less. But just don't feel defeated if you slip up. Basically, though that's part of the process. Um, Next step is let go of the all or nothing mindset. So there's that whole like, you know, going cold turkey kind of New Year's Eve resolution kind of thing where it's like people are like, I'm gonna run 6 miles every day right off the bat, or I'm gonna stop eating any junk food right off the bat, kind of thing. So it's an all or nothing mindset they have, and that usually doesn't end very well. Because once you have a slip up, which is probably inevitable, then you tend to be really hard on yourself and you just give up on the whole thing. But if you don't go all or nothing, this goes back to number one, or go to the good habits part, where you have small, achievable, trackable goals. And you realize that sometimes you're going to slip up, and that's okay. Just get back on the path and keep going. Then you'll be better off. Start small. Um, so especially like it's hard to kick multiple habits at one time. So maybe just start with one that you think is the most important. And again, we just are talking about small, measurable, and trackable changes. You want to be able to measure these things and see that you're making progress, just minute progress that builds on top of itself and keeps going. And eventually you'll have not only gotten rid of the bad habit, but created a new good habit instead. Um, Changing your environment. Again, we talked about this a little bit on the good habits one, but you should try to remove the things that are causing the bad habit. If you know, yeah, if you're trying to break the habit of uh, drinking the soda or whatever, don't bring it into the house. Um, you know, or like uh, you could leave a note to yourself, like if you keep a journal or something like that. Um, or on your mirror you have a set of steps that's like, remember, don't do this. Remember, replace this with this. Stuff like that. Like you just, remove the things that are causing you to fall into this habit or do this habit. Um, it'll help a lot by you changing that environmental stimulus. Visualize yourself breaking the habit. So mental visualization is apparently very helpful And I mean, I understand why. For me, that always seemed kind of silly, but the more I read about it and the more that I've been trying to practice it myself, is being able to mentally imagining yourself succeeding at something or doing something does have an impact on how well you do at that task. So being able to visualize yourself in a given situation and how you're going to act, or you know, perform whatever physical task it is, or whatever, being able to visualize that success does make a difference when that scenario actually happens. And there's lots of ways you can visualization. You can practice deep breathing and kind of literally visualize it in your mind. You can write down your goals and visualize it that way, like where you're going to, how you're going to do these things. But this sort of self-realization through visualization is apparently a very real thing. So practice self-care, manage your stress, manage, health problems, stuff like that. Trying to break a habit is really hard already. So try to manage those other stressors, so that, because that's already breaking the habit's already going to be a stressor. Don't add to your stressors by letting those other things get out of whack, or cause more stress, basically. Because that it'll just turn into a whole mess, basically. So make sure that you're practicing self-care, and that's things like getting enough sleep, eating regular and nutritious meals, be physically active, make sure you're seeing a doctor, take time for hobbies and for relaxation to improve your mood, stuff like that. um, and motivate yourself with rewards for success. So breaking a habit's really difficult, so maybe you should set up a reward system for yourself. So let's say, for example, that your goal is to lose a bunch of weight, like a specific amount, because we talked about small measurable goals. But let's say it's a substantial amount of weight. Like, let's say it's 100 pounds or something like that. Like, you're going to be a completely different size at that point. Um, so maybe you can reward yourself by going, okay, well, when I reach that 100 pounds, when I lose that 100 pounds, I'm going to reward myself by buying a new wardrobe or something like that. Not a whole new wardrobe, but let's say, it's like, I'm gonna buy myself, like, as a guy here, let's say I'm gonna buy myself a nice tailored suit because I've never owned one of those, and I'll be at my goal weight then, and that'll be my reward to myself, is this tailored, sharp looking suit, something like that. So celebrate your wins, no matter how small they are. Like, whatever those the small goals are. Maybe it's your maybe your overall goal is something crazy like run a marathon. But let's say that, like, you ran a mile this week and you've never done that before, and it felt really good and it felt easier than last week. Then you celebrate that goal by, like, going down to the waterfront or something like that and kind of hanging out down there, or, like, catching a movie or something like that, just like a reward for these small wins as well. So give it time. So there's a common myth that it takes like 21 days to break a habit or to make one. But apparently that's not quite true. It actually probably had something to do with some weird study about plastic surgery. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but realistically, it actually takes longer. It takes something like 10 weeks to break or create a habit. So it's going to take time, and you will have slip ups probably. But you should just keep in mind that it does take time and that you're working towards that goal. So don't get too disappointed if it's not in 21 days like the myth says. And it really depends. The timing depends on a couple of things, like how long have you had this habit? Is it like an emotional or physical or social habit? Like, do you have any support? to break it, stuff like that. What are the rewards that this habit provides? How, because if it's like this huge reward for having this habit, it's going to be harder to break it. Um, so um, know that you don't have to do it alone. There's you can get people to help you out. Um, you might have success breaking some habits, but like the more help you can get, then the better. Especially for more dangerous habits, you should definitely get help with those. Um, and that's it for breaking the habits. So I I just wanted to make this video because the idea, generally when we're talking about habits, people are talking about bad habits, but it's also good to create good habits. But how do you do that? Like, there's really no like guidance on creating a good habit. It's always just like people are like, well, I just started doing it all the time and now I do it like regularly, it just happened, um, but it takes dedication and it takes steps and small achievable steps, but steps nonetheless to achieve habits that are long lasting. And likewise, it takes just as much effort, if not more, I would say, to break a bad habit. And I wanted to go through the steps on how to break bad habits and replace those with good habits. So the reason for this is because, as far as the Human Betterment Project goes, um, I want to maximize the amount of good habits I have and minimize the amount of bad habits that I have, because that will put me in a better position to be healthier, more successful, more efficient, emotionally better. The list just socially better. The list can just go on about how the benefits of having the most amount of good habits you can have and as little bad habits as possible. So I just wanted to talk about that with you guys. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell down on the bottom. And please comment below if you have any other tips, or any successes that you've had on breaking habits or building habits. Put those down in the comments, and it really helps, and it'll help me to continue to bring you guys new videos and new subjects, and kind of maybe bring this thing a little more mobile for more interview kind of shows and stuff like we used to do in the past. But I can't do that without you guys. So please, like I said, like and subscribe. I really enjoy you guys' time, and I really appreciate you guys like watching and stuff. So please keep doing that, and I will see you guys later. Bye.